Alright, Chapter 22, Financial Destiny, Small Steps to a Small or Large Fortune, Day 4. Your outcome: to take control of financial future by living 5 fundamental elements for establishing wealth. Money, it's one of the most emotional charged issues of our lives. Most people are willing to give up things which are much more valuable than money in order to get more out of it. They push themselves far beyond their past limitations, give up the time of their family and friends, everything, even destroy their health. Money is a potential source associated with both pain and pleasure that our society too often use. Make difference equality, allow to magnify separation of the have and the have not. Some people that try to deal with the money pretending it doesn't matter. The financial pressure, something that affects the every day of our life. The elderly, especially lack of money, often translate with the lack of critical resources. For some, money holds mystery. For others, it is the source of a desire, pride, envy, even contempt. Which is the maker of the which is it really? Is it the maker of the dreams or of the root of all evil? Is it a tool of the war, weapon, the sword of the freedom, power, security, or merely the means to an end? Intellectually, the money is merely a medium of exchange. It allows us to simplify with the process of creating, transfer, sharing value within society. Convenience for the together we are created all orders in order to allow ourselves the freedom of the special life within our life cycle. Life works without having to be concerned with whether we find other work worthy or barter. We've learned to associate some of the most debilitating emotions with the scarcity of the commodity, anxiety, frustration, fear, insecurity, worry, anger, humiliation, being overwhelmed have been named, but a few were witnessing Eastern Europe's political system having the top of the Bible, the personal pressure associated with the financial deprivation. Can you think of any country, any corporation, anyone's personal life that has not been touched by the experience of financial stress? Many of the people mistake with things all the challenges of their life would dissipate if they just had enough money. Nothing could be further from the truth. Even more money in itself really feels equally ridiculous. To tell yourself the greater financial freedom and mastery with your finances would not offer greater opportunities to expand, share, create value with yourself and others. So why do some people fail to achieve the financial abundance in the nation where the economic opportunity surrounds them? We live in a country where the people that create the net worth hundreds of millions, starting with a little idea from the computer for the first build in the garage, also around those of the role model with the unbelievable possibility. People who know how to create with the wealth will maintain it. What is it that keeps us from getting wealth in the first place? How can it be living in a capacity country where other forefathers died for the right of the life of the liberty, pursuit, happiness, where economic reform, more stimulus for independence? 95% of the American population by the age of 65 of a lifetime work can now support themselves without help from the government or family. As I perceive the key to building lasting wealth, one thing becomes clear. Creating wealth is simple. The most people that never build it, and because they have holes in financial foundations, they can be found in forming an interval values, belief conflicts, as well as poor plans virtually guarantee financial future failure. This chapter will not provide you with everything you need to know to master the entire financial life. It will be certain to tell you that more than a chapter to do that, but it's designed to give you just simple fundamentals that give you to take immediate control of the critical important areas. Let it begin remembering the power of our belief and control our behavior. The most common reason for the most people to become financially successful is they live in the mixed association of which they have the more money than well as what would mean to have the excess money with the money with the support with the current lifestyle. As learned in Chapter 5, the brain knows what to do only when it's clear association about what it needs to avoid and what it needs to be moved toward. For money, we often send six mixed messages, so we give the mixed result with yourself. The money will provide us freedom to change, but to give it us for those who would love the chance to do all things that we dream about, with the chance to free up our time, yet simultaneously believe that in order to accumulate with abundance for the money we have for the work so much harder, spending so much more time with the probably too old with the desire to enjoy it. We may believe that if we have excess money, we won't be spiritual, we'll be judged, or some will swindle, or out of it anyway, why anyone try. These negative associations are not limited to ourselves. Some of the people that present anyone who is doing well with financially often assume that someone had made a lot of money and he or she must have done something to take advantage of the others. If you find yourself presenting someone who is wealthy with a must pass you does to the sound of your brain, it's probably something that has excess money is bad. Harbor these feelings and others subconsciously teaching your mind that for you to do with you would make you a bad person. Presenting other success, you condition yourself to avoid the financial abundance that you need and desire. The second most common reason why so many people that never master money is simply because they think it is too complex. They want the expert to handle it to them handle it for them. When you very valuable to get expert coaching, which is created with our financial company, the Destiny Financial Services. We all must be trained to understand the consequence of financial decisions exclusively dependent upon someone else, as no matter how competent they are, you'll always have them to blame for what the curve of the take responsibility understanding your finances. You begin to take direct ownership of your own destiny. Everything in this book is based upon the idea we have the power to understand how our minds, body, with emotions work, the cover that we have the capacity to exert a great deal of control over the destinies. Our financial world is no differently understanding with no limiting ourselves to believe the complexity of finances. Once for the understanding of the fundamental mastering money is fairly simple to matter. Some first take task. So the first task I would give in taking control of the financial world is to utilize the neurosocial condition, technology condition yourself with the financial success. Become clearly associated with the greater things you can do with the family and the peace of mind you feel like with the true economic abundance. But the third major belief that keeps people from succeeding financially, creating tremendous stress on the concept of the scarcity that most people live in the world with everything limited. There's only such much available land, so much oil, so many quality homes, so many quality homes, and so many opportunities, so much of the time, and the philosophy of the life. In order to you to win, somebody else has to lose, and zero sum of the game. And I believe this is the only way to become financially successful is to follow the approach of the robber barons of the early 1900s. Corner of the market, particular products, so that you get 95% with something, while everything else has to be split, remaining 5%. The truth of the matter, however, the corner scarce supply no longer guarantees lasting wealth. A good friend of mine, economist Paul Pizer, Warren Business School graduated, has become the quite famous economic theory of alchemy. Paul has recently written a book I highly recommend. Itself reflects on the core belief that evidence has to back it up, and we live in a resource-rich environment, and it's called unlimited wealth. Paul points out that there were unique time in human history with the traditional area of obtaining scarce physical resources no longer the primary arbiter of the wealth. Today, technology determines the value of the physical resources and how large a supply actually exists. Interviewed him with the Power Talk audio magazine. Paul gave me a great example of demonstrating how value extra reach of availability completely controlled by technology. And technology that determines the price of any of the product. For the 70s, everyone was certain that we were running out of oil. In 1973, people were spending hours in the gas line. Sophisticated computerized analysis. Best experts of the world were predicting that we had approximately 700 billion barrels of oil left in the entire world, which are the current rate consumption would be less than 35 to 40 years. Paul said that the experts were correct. And then in 1988, we should have seen our oil reserves dwindle to about 500 billion barrels. Yet in 1987, we were nearly 30% more oil than we had. We had 30% more oil than we had in 15 years earlier. 1988 estimated indicated that we had 900 billion barrels, counting only our provision reserve that does not include the 2,000 billion additional barrels of the oil. Researchers now believe the new discovery the recovery techniques may be able to tap. Made a radical change in the amount of the oil that was available. Two things certainly: ability to find when the oil has been enhanced. Technology has powerfully impacted our ability to utilize the oil more efficiently. We would have the thought back in 1952 someone would come up with the idea of a computerized fuel injector that would be installed virtually every automobile in the United States, instantly double the fuel efficiency of the cars. What's more, computer chip cost of $25 replace a $300 carburetor. The minute of the technology developed instantly doubled the effect of the supply of the gasoline, the change of the relative scarcity of the oil overnight. In fact, with the price of the oil today, adjustion of the inflation based on the distance does not take with today's more efficient cars actually cost you less per mile than any time in the history of the automobile. Addition, we live in a world where the company with the individuals beginning with experiment to much economic plan with the immediate look over the alternative for the result thereafter, scientifically all over the world with the finding alternative of the petroleum for powering facilities, powering factories, automobiles, every airplane. But we said what happened to the Hunt brother with the Texas with the powerful example of the old trade with the concerning the market with the of the commodity just don't work anymore with the Hunt's attempt to take complete control of the silver market. Then when they went broke, and why one major reason the largest user of silver was Kodak Corporation that used silver in the developing profit that motivated the payment. The increased price of the Kodak began to the alternative way of the processing photographs. As a result, less silver was needed instantly. Silver prices plunged. Hunts were wiped out. This common mistake made us some of the most powerful people in today's society. Why continue to operate with the old formula of creating wealth? You and I need to realize value with anything that is purely dependent upon technology. Technology can only turn waste product into invaluable resource. After all, there was time when having oil on our land with a curse of the technology turned into a source of wealth. Through wealth, Paul says, comes from the ability to practice what he calls the economic alchemy, which is the ability of taking something that has very little value and converting it into something of significantly greater value. In medieval times, those that practiced alchemy were trying to convert lead into gold. They failed at attempting profit to lay the foundation of the science of the chemistry, but they were worth wealthy toward the truly modern-day alchemists. They have learned transforming something common into something precious. They repeat the economic words that come from transformation. What do you think about this? Does the magnification and processing speed of the computer really reduce down the dirt after a silicon comes from sand? Those who were taking ideas were mere thoughts to turn them into products. So they certainly make participating alchemy. Wealth begins in the mind. Modern alchemy has been a source of financial success. Wealthiest people in the world today, whether Bill Gates, Ross Perot, Sam Walton, Steve Jobs, all of these people have found with a wave of taking hidden value with the ideas formation systems that organize the wave that would enable them people to use them as they added value. They begin to create tremendous economic empires. Let's review the fundamental lesson of the creating lasting wealth that immediately put you to work on the beginning to take control of the financial destiny. First key is the ability to earn more income than ever before. The ability to create wealth. I have a simple question. Can you earn twice as much money as you do now in the same amount of time? Can you earn 3 times as much money or 10 times? It is possible that you could earn 1,000 times the amount of money you do now in the same amount of time. Absolutely, if you find a way to be worth 1,000 times more to your company or your fellow man. The key to wealth is much more valuable if you have more skill, the more ability, more intelligence, specialized care, knowledge of the capacity for doing things if you or others, and just creatively contribute to the massive scale that you earn more than you ever thought possible. The single most important potent way to expand your income is to devise a way to consistently and add real value to people's lives, and you will prosper. For example, if the doctor paid more than a doorman, was why a doctor is paid more than a doorman, the answer is simple. The doctor adds more value. He has worked harder to develop himself, and so he is worth more in terms of capacity to add measurable value of the people's lives. Anyone opens the door, doctor opens the doors of life. Why successful entrepreneurs are so well rewarded financially in our culture because they added more value with virtually anyone around them. 2 primary benefits for the entrepreneurs create. First, the obvious added value of the customer, increase the quality of their lives through the use of the product. By this way, the critical for any company to prosper. So often the company forgets the real purpose of the being is not just to make a profit. The profit is an absolute most of the company to survive and flourish, like eating and sleeping. Necessity is not the real purpose. The true purpose of any corporation is to create products and services that increase the quality of life of all their customers serve. If this is achieved, the consistent basis of the profit is absolutely assured that however the company can profit in the short term, not be in here for the long term. It doesn't continually add value to people's lives. This holds true for the corporations as much as individuals. Second thing with the entrepreneurs do this. If they're creating with the product, they create jobs. Because of today's job, the employed children can go to higher education, become doctors, lawyers, teachers, social workers, and more value with the society as a whole. Not to mention that the fact these families spend money they earn with other vendors. The chain value is never ending. One with the Ross Perot was asked the secret of his wealth. He said, "What can I do with the country is creating the jobs? I'm pretty good at that, and Lord knows we need them. More value with the contributor, with the more will earn with your lifestyle yourself in a position to do so." The lesson is simple. When you do not have entrepreneurs to add more value, you must do every day with continually expanding your knowledge, your skill, with your ability to give. This is why self-education is so critical. Became very wealthy man at an extremely young age. One of the reasons the master skill of the ability to continue instantly increase the quality of the life of virtually anyone. I figured out with a way to share the information of skill with a huge number of the people, short period of time. As a result, I had prospered not only emotionally but financially as well. If you want to earn more money as you where you are today, one of the simplest ways to do is ask yourself, how can I be worth more money, more to this company? How can I help to achieve more in less time? How can I add tremendous amount of value to it? Are there some way that could help cut costs and increase quality with a new system that could I develop with a new technology? Could I use the wood with the lab with the company to produce the product services more effectively? I will help people to do with more with less, with truly empowering others will be empowered economically as well, with as long as ourselves in a position to do so. In our financial destiny seminars, participation brainstorm with a way that can add more value, but therefore increase their income. Will ask whether they research whether they've been failing to use the key question. Ask yourself, how can I be touch more people's lives? How can I do it at a deeper level? How can I give it a better quality of the product service? And inevitably, some of the people will say, "But there's no way I can add more value. I'm already working 16 hours a day as it is." Remember, I did suggest that you work harder, even though that you need to work, even that you need to work smarter. When I'm asking what necessary resources could you employ that could add more value to other people. For example, I remember a massage therapist, one of the most successful in this field of the San Diego area. He wanted to know how he could increase his earnings when he was booked solid. He couldn't see one or more persons a day. He was already charging the highest rate in the field. As he began to brainstorm the new ideas, focusing, he could take the resources to help him with the patients, and over he began to realize that he could team up with someone who owned a physical therapy unit. He referred to the patients who needed help that could be received with a referral fee. His income now almost doubled, working the same number of the hours a day, although he did find his way to add more value to both of the doctors and clients. Since he knew the doctors well, they understood his form of therapy. There was a greater consistency of the care between them, and they benefited financially in this process. In Phoenix, Arizona, one of the top radio salesperson is a woman whose primary market strategy is not merely to sell radio time, consistently looking at opportunities to help companies prosper. For example, the minutes that she hears of a new shop that is going to be built, she contacts with the potential vendors for shopping centers and lets them know of the opportunity along with them to get a jump on the market. She contacts with the developer to introduce herself with a radio station representative that works with the people in their industry at all time. Would a developer like to see with the list of the top vendors in the field? Out of the strategy, several things she quit adding value with the beyond with the radio time. More people would purchase promote with the company. She found a way to give them much more than anyone else around them. They usually buy a significant portion, if not of the radio time from her. That motivates the reciprocated value for her value, but it does not require a great deal of time, but it makes her more valuable to the customer. Any of the radio salesperson in the region, and her income reflects it. Even if you work at a large corporation, you can add more value. Remember when a woman who has the claims processors for a hospital, she saw how slow things were going, and now the claim with the process of the economic lifeline with the hospital discovered that she could be much more efficient, potentially process 4 to 5 times more claims than she previously. She asked their supervisor if it could work. If she could do the work of 5 people, it would increase their salary by 50%. They said that she proved that she consistently produced the result over a period of time that would use since not only has it increased the job efficiency or income, she has nearly found sense of pride. You can't increase your income of the company, remembering that you can increase the quality of what you're doing with a 50%, and expect 50% increase in income in a company must profit. The question, ask yourself, how can I increase the value of what I do with the 10 or 15 times? If you do this, in most cases you have no trouble in your income. The distribution wave of the future. One of the most powerful ways of adding value with the 90s beyond the understanding that today's society's wealth is created with the distribution products over the change with the constantly, but those who have figured the way of something tremendous value with delivered demand for the number of people will prosper. They have been achieved the rich of the man of the United States, Sam Walton. He became the wealthiest by creating a distribution system. Ross Perot that did the same thing with the information with the EDS. That if you figure out to take something also that's already a greater value with the distributed to the people that distribute it at a lower cost, having to find another way that adding value is not just creating products and finding a way to make sure that most people experience with increase the quality of life, but your course. If we were to really think about it, and I have people that don't well financially, yes, they have limiting beliefs, but most importantly, their core belief that most people have they should get something for nothing. Most people that have, for example, expect the income to grow each year and every year, whether they increase the contribution to their company or not. Raise it should be said. should be tied to increased value that we can easily increase our value for the long as educate ourselves with expand with a repertoire of skill with a company with a continually gives people the raises without employees finding ways to add more hour value. The company with going deeper into the hole will eventually find itself economically trouble to destroy to ask him with a raise. You forget to find out a way to add at least 10 times more value than what you're asking for in return. Alright, companies too must realize that they are looking for the investment of the equipment, and equipment that gives limited return. Paul Pizer says the labor is capital. If someone makes $50,000 a year and can generate $500,000 value, why not fake this person? Increase their skill, ability, talent, attitude, education so that they can add $1 million in value and a $50,000 value investment that brings a $1 million return is very valuable asset. There's no better investment that the companies can make than educate and develop in their own people. Well, this is a product of man's capacity to think. For years, I helped the people throughout the nation improve the quality of their lives, taking ideas of the valuable, delivering them in the way that the people could truly utilize with the creating with the technology chain, with the delivering with the impactful way. I prospered with my prosperity exploded. One day, I asked myself, how can I reach more people than ever before? How can I reach people while I sleep? As a result of the empowering question, I discovered the way to expand with an influencing way that I had never even considered before by offering audio tapes through television. This was 2 years ago. Since that time, we now distributed 7 million audio tapes from the Personal Power Program around the world, sharing ideas of the information continuing with the impact of the people for 24 hours a day. My partners in cassette productions estimate that the last 24 months for the amount of the tapes that have been called for the carry the match for the enough for the circle of the earth edge 20 times. This is the equator. In the process, I have enjoyed with knowing that we only impact with the quality of the life of those who have used our tapes, and we have provided 75,000 hours of employment, and the manufacturing profit doesn't include with all the hours that the vendors have spent as well. You've heard many of the examples of how adding creates wealth with the form and simple and powerful as it works. As that can add more value with environmental, any with environmental. Ask you for the questions. How have I made and saved with my company money in the last 12 months? This true contribution makes life richer, so don't limit yourself with adding value strictly for personal gain. How can you add more value within your life, within your church, in your school, in your community? If you can figure out the way to add at least 10 times more value than what you're looking for, you're always fulfilled with imagining what life would be like if everyone followed your example. 2. The second key is to maintain your wealth. Once effective strategy, accumulating wealth by earning large sums of money. How do you maintain it? Contrarily popular opinion, you can't maintain wealth simply continuing to earn money. We've all heard the famous people that would have made fortunes with lost them overnight. Athletes whose talents allowed them to be made huge. Some about who have created lifestyle with depleted the moment and the income and changed. And when the income dropped, they often tremendous demands for the couldn't possibly meet them at the last at all. There's only one way to maintain the wealth, is simply spend less than you earn and invest the difference. Without the question, there is also the not very sexy principle is the only way to scare wealth on the long term. Would never see that to amaze me, but that is there's no matter how much more money people earn, they seem to find a way to spend it with the annual income of the people attending with the financial destiny seminars range from $30,000 up to $2 million, with the average being around 100,000. People with the highest earning categories are often broke, but why? Because they make all economic decisions based on short term rather than long term. They have no clear spending plan, much less an investment plan. They also have the course for the Niagara Falls. The only possible way to build wealth is to pick a specific percentage of your income into the will invest each year up front. Now many people of this will have heard of the virtue, say with a minimum of 10% of investing it, but few people do it, and interesting enough, very few people are wealthy. The best way to ensure that you're able to maintain your wealth is to have 10% taken out of your paycheck and invested before you even see it. To maintain the wealth, you must control what you're spending, but don't develop a budget, develop a spending plan. How that's for transformational vocabulary. Truly, if a budget is done effectively, it is a spending plan. This means for if you're married, you and your spouse to decide that what you spend on the money in advance rather than getting caught up in the moment. Too often the the opportunities come up with the out of sense of the urgency to make with a decision later we regret. I can also tell you that you and your spouse clear plan how much you need to spend each for the month each for the category of your life to concern yourself with the lots for the argument. Unfortunately, most Americans' lives far beyond means. Of the 1980s, Americans owed over $54 billion on credit cards. By the end of 1980, they totally had more than tripled, $172 billion. This is the system guarantees financial disaster. Be intelligent, spending less than you earn, and you will maintain your wealth. You must ask, won't my investments cause me to grow? Yes, also have to deal with the inflation. You must go to the third step, creating lasting wealth. Alright, the third key is increasing in wealth. How do you accomplish it? You do another simple yet powerful fact of the equation I just explained. That in order to become wealthy, you must spend less than you earn. And invest the difference and reinvest the return to the compound growth. Most people have heard of the exponential power of the compounding, but few understand it. Compounding allows you to yourself the position where your money goes to work for you. Most of us work entry live the fuel machine with our lifestyle that will succeed financially, as are those set aside with certain percentages of the money. Invest and continue to reinvest in the profits until they produce source of the income large enough to provide all their needs without having to work again. With all this accumulation of the capital that's free of the necessity of the work critical mass, the peace of which you have achieved. The peace of it will achieve the financial independence with a direct proportion with your willingness to reinvest and not spend with the profits of past investments. In this way, the offspring of your dollars will grow and multiply until your solid economic base. Let me offer a simple dramatic example of the power of compounding. If you fold a cloth napkin 1/32 of an inch thick upon itself once, how thick is it? It's obviously 1/16 of an inch. How folded upon a second time, the thickness is 1/8 of an inch. The third fold equals 1/4 of an inch, and the fourth fold is 1/2 of an inch. If the fifth fold it equals 1 inch. Here must be the question of the money time that you need with the fold of the napkin upon itself. The compound before thinking would be too much moon. Here's the clue: the moon is 237,305 million miles away. Amazing you'd reach the moon in 39-fold. But the 40th fold theoretically thickness of the napkin would be enough to go to the moon and back 1,179 times. This is the power of compounding. Most of the people don't realize a small amount of the money compounded through the time can be a fortune. You might say this is a wonder. I love compounding my investments, but I don't know what to invest in. There's no simple answer to the question. Must first decide what the financial growth goals are. What do you want to accomplish? What are the period of time? What risk tolerance, the amount of the risk if you're comfortable with, without understanding the desire, the needs, your potential concerns, what investment is not clear. Often we be investor with the almost financial expert to advise them. Even though these experts frequently have no idea what their clients' truly needs are. The most important thing you'll ever do in financial life is decide truly understand the various types of investment with the potential risk, the returns. Responsible advisors will make certain that the clients thoroughly understand the kind of investments available to every part of the development of their own financial plans. But a clear-cut investment plan, you have individually failed financially. According to the financial newsletter of the Dick Fabian, evidence show that investors in anything making no money over the 10-year period. Evidence show that investors in anything make no money over a 10-year period. Several reasons for the tragic statistic include not setting a goal, chasing after trendy investments, relying on reports of financial press, finally taking advice from the brokers and financial planners. 5. Making emotional mistakes, and so on. Unfortunately, these answers to financial questions are easily accessibly available in books from masters, from Peter Lynch to the Robert Prechters, to the Warren Buffetts, and they're all effective financial coaches who can assist with developing a plan will help you meet lifelong financial needs, making certain finances play a large role in the amount of the pain and pleasure in your life. You have in your life with a model of the best financial people. If you don't, you're going to experience pain. If you do, you can have a level of financial abundance that's far beyond what you've ever dreamed of before. Now that you can really begin to create and expand your wealth, you're ready to have the fourth key to eliminate financial success. You're ready to have the fourth key element of financial success. Alright, the fourth key is to protect your wealth. So many people that have the wealth that are equal or more with increased today with abundance of the wealth when they had done. People often feel that they're less secure when they think that they have more to lose when they become known. But at the moment that someone called with a complete unfair with the unjust reason, the climate deck of somebody the asset. Would you like to know how bad the current climate of the United States, according to the article of the London Financial Times, June 22nd, 1991? All lawsuits were filed around the world in 1988 and 1989. Staggering 95% were filed in the United States alone, with 18 million lawsuits filed per year. In fact, the current statistic of the American Bar Association show that live in California and make more than $50,000 a year. There's almost 1 in 4 chance that you will be sued. From American European perspective, it seems that the Americans are always looking for someone to blame with anything that goes wrong with this. Genius for the incredible number of the lawsuits, they are harsh words, but unfortunately they are true. The attitude that not found anywhere elsewhere in the world, destroying our nation economically, tying up the time, capital, energy, and the wasteful, non-productive ways. For example, the recently reported with the Wall Street Journal, a man who has driving his vehicle while drunk tried to move shotgun on the seat next to him and then accidentally discharged and killed him. His widow, rather than acknowledge her husband's inebriated state, he sued shotgun manufacturer for 4 million rounds of the guns and didn't have safety devices for the drunk drivers and won. Knowing that the wealth that they've spent over the years intent for the work grade, but could claim, but people who have no right with the understanding to make from us, people feel edgy. It makes them wary of the liability business with the other impact following through with the investment decisions, having the good news with the legal avenues, protecting your assets as long as you're not currently involved with a lawsuit with the philosophy of protecting your assets is not one of the trying to avoid legitimate debts, but simply to protect yourself with frivolous acts. People with dishonest motive will sue you for the only 1 or 2 reasons, because they want to share with you of your insurance. They want to seize your assets. If there are no assets to touch, it's more difficult for them to retain an attorney based merely on the contingency fee. If you are judiciously in advance, you can protect your system with the guideline of doing so with a very clear and concise. In my quest to understand finances, I began to study the John Templetons of the world, begins with gaining distinction of how they structure their finances in a way to protect their assets from illegitimate claims. As any situation in life, it is important to find out what the big players are doing with the model, their evaluation procedure for the strategy. They spent 2 years presumably understanding the best asset of the protection system available in the United States with the doctor clientele with my fortune management company. One company, common misperceptions, the asset protection involved with the mystery with the deceit, the reality with the honesty with the best policy with the asset that do not need to be hidden, just protected. Its asset protection is not a major concern with it today. It will also begin to build with your wealth, and just know that there are many things you can do to train within this area. The fifth key is to enjoy wealth. Some of the people that have gone through the first 4 steps, and they figured out how to earn wealth, and by adding real value, they discover the meaning of time with spending less than what they are earning, and they master the investing with the experience of the benefit of the compound interest. They know how to protect their assets, but they're still not happy and they feel empty. The reason is that they have not realized that money is not the end; it is only the means. You and I must make sure that we find a way to share the positive impact with the people that we care about, or the money will have no value. When you discover the ways to contribute that are proportional to your income, will tap into the greatest joys in life. I can tell you don't live at a certain level of pleasure is creating value with earning money. You'll never keep it up in the long term. Most people wait until they accumulated a certain amount of money and then start to enjoy themselves. But this is a great way to teach your brain to link pain to wealth creation. Instead of rewarding yourself emotionally along the way, occasionally you need to give yourself the jackpot, as you talked about in Chapter 6, where you give yourself a financial surprise so that your brain is taught to earn money is enjoyable regarding. Almost remember the power of valuing tithing. I can tell you in the financial world beginning to turn around today, give it a little bit more than $20 to someone, and when I really didn't have the $20 to give the day, I felt good about myself, and the feelings all alone transformed my performance, my capacity even more. Most people say I tithe when I have more money. But what do you think would be more difficult to do? To give it a dime out of the dollar, to give it $100,000 out of $1 million? The answer is obvious, isn't it? I'm not suggesting 10% of the figure to be etched in stone, with a commitment to consistently take the portion of what you earn and give it away that gives you joy. The beautiful thing is to give it away with the portion of what you earn, the teaching of the brain you have the more than enough. You'll be beyond scarcity with the belief system alone with the training to live with true wealth and emotion. Its sense of absolute abundance and heritage alone makes the wealthy the privilege of enjoying greater works as the art wouldn't paint. Music wouldn't be composed with greater educational institutes we didn't build. Fueling wealth of the nation's parks that you own. Know that the wealthiest person know enjoy the wealth. Realize that this is part of your abundance, and the feelings of gratitude will allow you to create even more. Let me simply say to this, closing, changing beliefs, mastering your finances can be incredibly rewarding experience in personal development. Commit yourself now to begin the process. Charity and personal force are the only investments. Walt Whitman. Alright, today assignment. One, take a look at your beliefs so that if there are any other out of line, change them with the narrow association conditions. Institute a process of adding more value with the place of employment on the major scale, whether you are paid for it or not. Add 10 times more value with the currently prepared with the unprocessional effects of your actions. Commit to save a minimum of 10% and to deduct it from your check and invest with your sub-planned portfolio. Get some good coaching. Whether you contact Financial Density with the group professional or with your local financial coach, make certain that whoever works with you help develop a detailed financial plan that you understand. Pick up some of the greater financial books. There are many of them that can teach you how to make intelligent, informed investment decisions. If you're concerned about your assets being under attack, take action to develop an asset protection plan. Create a small jackpot, start with a piece of the link pledge for the financial success, what you can do with something special for that we can do yourself with reinforce getting started today. Now you're ready to chapter 23, be implicable your code of conduct. Testing.